Sarah arrived at the classroom early, but this time something was different. She wasn't reviewing her presentation or adjusting her slides. Instead, she was thinking about her students. As they began arriving, she greeted each person at the door with a smile, introduced herself, and thanked them for attending. Almost immediately, the room felt different. Conversations began naturally. Students introduced themselves to one another, and the nervousness that often fills a classroom on the first day slowly disappeared. David watched from the back of the room and quietly said, "You've already started teaching, and class hasn't even begun." The first few minutes set the tone. Whether you're teaching a pre-licensing class, a continuing education course, or an instructor development workshop, students begin evaluating the learning environment long before the first slide appears. They notice whether the instructor is organized, approachable, and genuinely interested in helping them succeed. Some students arrive excited to learn, while others may be anxious about understanding legal concepts or speaking in front of a group. A positive first impression helps eliminate much of that anxiety and establishes an atmosphere where learning feels comfortable instead of intimidating. One of the easiest ways to accomplish this is by welcoming students as they arrive, rather than waiting behind the instructor's table. A simple greeting, a smile, and a friendly conversation communicate that your classroom is a place where participation is encouraged and questions are welcomed. Establish expectations early. Once everyone was seated, Sarah resisted the urge to jump directly into the lesson. Instead, she spent a few minutes explaining how the class would work. "I want this to be a conversation," she told the group. "You'll hear stories, work through examples, and I'll ask for your opinions throughout the day. If something doesn't make sense, stop me and ask. Chances are someone else has the same question." You can almost see the room relax. Adult learners appreciate knowing what to expect. Establishing classroom expectations at the beginning of class removes uncertainty and creates structure. Students quickly learn that participation is encouraged, questions are respected, and learning is a shared experience rather than a one-way lecture. Help students feel like they belong. David later asked Sarah why she thought the class had been so engaging. "I think everyone became comfortable with each other early," she replied. Before beginning the lesson, Sarah had invited each student to briefly introduce themselves and share either how long they had been in real estate or what motivated them to become an instructor. Within just a few minutes, students discovered they had similar experiences, career goals, and challenges. That simple activity transformed the room from a collection of strangers into a learning community. Adults are far more willing to participate when they feel connected to both the instructor and their classmates. Creating that connection early pays dividends throughout the remainder of the course. Create a safe environment for learning. Later that morning, Sarah noticed one student raising her hand very cautiously. "I'm afraid this might be a dumb question," she said. Sarah smiled. "I've been teaching long enough to know there are no dumb questions. If you're wondering about it, someone else probably is too." The class laughed, and several students nodded in agreement. That brief exchange created something every instructor should strive for: psychological safety. Students learn more effectively when they know they won't be embarrassed for asking questions, offering an opinion, or making a mistake. The classroom should be a place where curiosity is encouraged and every student feels respected. When instructors respond with patience and encouragement, participation naturally increases. Confidence is built one conversation at a time. Many instructors believe confidence comes from delivering a flawless presentation. In reality, confidence is built through positive interactions. When students answer a question, acknowledge their effort before expanding on the concept. When someone shares an experience, thank them for contributing to the discussion. When a student struggles with a concept, guide them toward understanding instead of simply giving them the answer. Positive reinforcement creates momentum. Students who experience success early in the class become more willing to participate again, while students who feel criticized often withdraw from future discussions. One encouraging conversation can completely change a student's confidence. Establish credibility through professionalism. As class concluded, one student thanked Sarah and commented, "I could tell you really cared whether we understood the material." That compliment meant more to her than any praise about her industry experience. Many instructors assume credibility comes from listing years in the business, awards, or production numbers. While experience certainly establishes expertise, students place equal value on preparation, professionalism, honesty, and genuine concern for their success. Great instructors don't try to impress students. They earn their trust by being prepared, explaining difficult concepts clearly, answering questions honestly, and creating an environment where every student has the opportunity to succeed. Instructor tip: never underestimate the power of learning students' names. Calling someone by name during a discussion immediately creates a more welcoming environment and reminds students they are active participants rather than anonymous members of the audience. Building the foundation for success. As the last student left the classroom, Sarah turned to David. "I spent less time worrying about my presentation today," she admitted. "And more time thinking about your students," David replied. She smiled. "I think that's why today felt different." He nodded. "Students rarely remember every slide you present. They remember how you made them feel. When they feel welcomed, respected, and confident, they're far more willing to engage, ask questions, and apply what they've learned." Building student confidence isn't something that happens halfway through a course. It begins the moment students walk through the classroom door. The environment you create during those first few minutes often determines the level of participation, engagement, and success you'll experience throughout the rest of the class. Online discussion question 1. What are some practical ways an instructor can create a positive first impression before class even begins? Answer: an instructor can greet students as they arrive, introduce themselves, create a welcoming atmosphere, and engage in friendly conversation before class starts. These simple actions help reduce anxiety and establish a positive learning environment from the very beginning. Question 2. Why is psychological safety important in an adult learning environment? Adult learners are more likely to ask questions, participate in discussions, and share their experiences when they know they won't be embarrassed or criticized. A psychologically safe classroom encourages confidence, collaboration, and better learning outcomes. Question 3. How can instructors build credibility without focusing on their accomplishments? Answer: credibility is established through preparation, professionalism, honesty, and a genuine commitment to student success. Students develop confidence in instructors who communicate clearly, encourage participation, and consistently demonstrate respect for every learner.